God. You're at the door?
Lights on! Lights on! Lights on!
Fireplace.
When they checked their security camera inside their home, they saw their cat get lifted into the air where it hovered for a second and then was lowered to the ground slowly. The owners of the home said they have no clue what caused this.
Because I think Joe had the choice to be Secretary of State or Vice President. And I said, Joe, no. Well, okay, you did. So,
You said Joe.
What the? Whoa. Ah! What's that? Holy smokes!
Did you see the light too? Like it went like
Wow.
What is it?
Oh my god!
What is that?
Holy crap.
Oh, that's crazy.
That is not natural.
No,
Come on
dude,
now.
that's
That's something. It's a cover up that they're gonna say. Oh,
Hey.
we're testing this.
oh hell look at oh my god, that is crazy.
I know.
That is crazy.
What? Hey, dude, that bright. That light is
Dude, what is that?
Everybody call him out.
No, don't. They're gonna be like,
bright. That's not nasty.
no, ain't no way.
Guys, just a quick video, guys. This is from the White House. Does that look like children being rescued? The video is very weak, but you can see that there's an adult and maybe some smaller sized individuals, like children. And this is possibly when it went dark. I don't know what's going on, guys. Children coming out of the White House.
So let's bring up the Church of Iessa again. Remember, this was the original church. These old Tartarian churches from around the world are from these people. They were not originally designed to be praying centers where demons would suck your spiritual energy, but they were originally designed as sacred geometrical healing centers that would charge the aether body of man. There's also this idea that they used these churches as spiritual transport systems in which they could rematerialize their bodies in different locations. I've talked about how this society didn't eat meat and or food at all since all these cities do not have proper sewer systems in their founding. The reason is because this civilization was on a different wave of spiritual consciousness and technology. Over time, other nations formed independent of this church and began plotting its demise. We see this come out of Rome with the Jesuits after they take over the world through some unfortunate circumstances, whether it be cataclysm, or the sun disappearing, or even some type of plasma apocalypse. You have the early Tartarian Age and the fall of Tartaria. The fall of the Tartarian Age is within the last 600 to 300 years, where there were many changes that took place. In the 1700s, California was an island on many maps. There's no possible way that this could be just an error if the history they tell us is true. There's also countless problems for the founding of many cities that many channels have covered the inconsistencies and pointed out that there's many things that don't really make sense. At some point, there was a steampunk type age in Europe and America, where aether-free energy technology was being used. This is not necessarily the technology of Tartaria, but after these empty cities of Tartaria were being filled, they began finding ancient advanced technology from the Church of Iessa. They found them in the churches, train stations, and are now called government buildings. These were re-engineered to develop many of the technologies that we use today. There were still leftover nations of Tartaria in this age, and it wasn't until 1812 that they had been fully conquered. Early Tartaria is within the last 1,000 years. This is at its prime. We hear about this in many of the myths around the world, where teachers came and taught the arts and sciences and fundamentals of civilization. They established their spiritual priesthood around the world. And look, I'm not really one of those zeitgeist guys, that brings up astrotheology and just says, Jesus never existed. I think he could have possibly been a druid. But this is ultimately the story of a spiritual helper who existed during this time of cataclysm to come and help others who were unaware of their spiritual power from within. Fomenko, which if you haven't heard of his work, suggests a completely different chronology than our modern timeline. He suggests the dates for the Old Testament are actually of a much more recent time, and it is the New Testament that is actually of a more ancient origin. Maybe it's possible that Francis Bacon and other Jesuit occultists of the New World decided to create the Bible in such a cryptic and spiritually influencing spell that would ban humans from using magic or pursuing spiritual enlightenment for themselves. If we look at the tyranny of the Church and the removal of knowledge of the past age of the Church, we see a deliberate attempt to remove ancient knowledge from passing on into this next age. Ancient knowledge is the perception of the world. It's the cosmology of the past. They needed to remove this concept that God is actually within man. This is the foundation for how the original church had practiced their philosophy, and it was not seen as blasphemous at all. Magic is not only the ability to make change in the real world through different practices and the implications that follow, such as the cosmology of mind over matter, but it's the foundation for spiritual practice and enlightenment. We shouldn't avoid it simply because we see different elite figures who want to use it for control. If anything, it might be the only way to escape tyranny is to reclaim our natural-born magical powers and consciousness.
Let's get this shit. I get those goosebumps every time, you come around. You say y'all ready? You ease my mind, you make everything feel fine. You say y'all ready? Worry about the sun. Oh yeah. I'm with you now.